Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to week 6 of Let's Talk Football NFC South Take Over with your hosts, me, Kyle Yacey, Miss Nicole, our special guest, Kate Albertson, and we got our honorary Bucks fan. Yeah, point to yourself, big guy, Mr. Foobs Faux Bear. I like that. Actually, you know what? That rolls off the tongue very, very. Oh, you did it. You
I
did it.
did. I did.
You did it. It's really exciting in football right now, honestly. Things are starting to shape up, and you're kind of seeing the direction where a lot of teams are going. A lot of divisions are still wide open, even our division, to say the least, honestly. So let's talk about it. And you know what? Just to throw Kate on the spot, Kate, why don't you go first? So let's recap how the Bucks did. You and Fuchs can go back and forth, as you both are Bucks fans, so you may as well.
They did not do well this week. They did not do well at all. And I think it's time, and I don't know if Andrew's heard me say this or not, but it's time for maybe looking at a new offensive coordinator. I don't think Leftwich is doing a very good job. Ben Cornett agrees with me. We talked about it. And I think the play calling has been horrible. We have all this talent. We have all these great receivers. We have Leonard Fournette as our running back. Tom Brady is our quarterback. And I see nothing good. Nothing good coming out of Leftwich's playbook. So my take is that the Buccaneers need to look maybe elsewhere. I don't know if Todd Bowles and him need to have a very big, huge come to Jesus meeting. If they come to Jesus this week and figure out what to do differently, but I don't think he's doing very well. Oh, thanks, Johnny Dean. But yeah, something's not right. The chemistry's not right. They're not clicking on the cylinders that they should be to try to go for another Super Bowl run. I don't see them going to the playoffs anymore like I did at the beginning of the season if this team keeps imploding and things keep happening. And I'm not loving it. I'm not liking it. It's really frustrating for me as a Bucks fan. And big changes need to happen or our season is down the tubes.
So do you think with that being said, I know you mentioned Brian Leftwich, which I definitely can agree on, but do you think it's more so that he's taking more charge of the offensive plays, or do you think maybe the team's a little bit sick after missing, Bruce Arians and that closer of a role? Do you know what I mean? Do you think that factors into it a little bit?
I think Arians not being the coach is a big deal to a lot of those players that were close to him and liked his leadership and liked his style of coaching. And I don't know if Bowles being in his first year as head coach needs to maybe go and say, Bruce, I need some advice. I need some help with what's going on here. Why are we gelling? Why isn't this happening? I know we have some injuries. I know our offensive line's been banged up. Mm-hmm. I know we're missing Kyle Rudolph, our tight end, but that makes no excuse for why we're playing the way we're playing.
Rate's been good, though.
You have to step up when times are tough. You have to step up. And if our team isn't going to step up and play well, and if Leftwich's playbook is rusty and needs some revamping and some relooking at, because let's just face it, every year the NFL changes, style of play changes, and you need to adapt. You need to come up with something new and original. And I'm not seeing it. And I think a lot of other teams know our playbook enough to defend it and to be a thorn in our side. So I don't know. I don't know what Andrew has to say, but my thought is a lot has to start with Byron and his playbook and his originality and what he's doing for the Bucks, because we have a hell of a defense, but not an offense. And that's my feeling.
No, that's fair. That's very valid. What do you think, Foobs? Like, what do you have to take on that?
I'm on both parts of it, where I do think that we need to do something in order to kind of save the season, but I'm also on the part of like the relax side of it, because the Bucks were I think it was 7-5 going into the bye week of our Super Bowl season, and that's what really after that, when we won the 4 straight, is what really finally put us in to win that Super Bowl. And, everybody started to be like, oh, that's the Buccaneers. NFL is the NFL, and it always will be the NFL. After 3 games, if the Jets win another one, are we saying that the Jets are the best team in the NFL? No, right? But everybody's going to start hopping on some of those narratives. So I agree that the Buccaneers need to do something. I understand that Byron Leftwich is the big problem. I'm more on the Todd Bowles thing. I've said it on the beginning of the NSD show and the Maple Buck show at the beginning of the season, where his demeanor, just the way that he coaches, for me, it's not the right proper way to coach this squad. Arians is essentially what got those guys going. He tore his ACL. He yelled when it needed to. And he was also a guy's guy.
Look at his portfolio, right?
Exactly. And so Bowles was good with the Jets when he actually had a team there and they were healthy, respectively. But we all know what collectively happened is not that many people hoorah'd around Todd Bowles. And that's what I think is adding more to this right now, is because nobody can hoorah and get around Brady right now because of his outside problems. And nobody can hoorah around Todd Bowles right now. So who the heck is going to be the guy that steps up and leads it? Marpet's gone. He was another guy that did it. So there's just a lot of different holes in there. And Devin White and some of these other guys are living off of the Super Bowl 2 years ago. That I agree with.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's interesting to see. Nick kind of touches on it too, and I was going to touch on that a little bit later too. It's a tough thing to see, Tom Brady lose it on his O-line. Like, you can kind of like take that from 2 different angles, in my opinion. You could take it as like, okay, Tom's losing his, he's losing his cool, he's losing his temper, he's getting frustrated, he's getting pissed off. But in all actuality, he's also captain too, so he's also got to lead an example, and he's got to kind of tell people when they need to step up too. So, there's both sides to that statement, to be quite honest with you. Like, is he justified at yelling at his line? I think it's
always.
a 50-50.
Always.
You can take it as either way, right? I don't know. Like, there's an argument to be said that, you need to like tell people to kind of work harder. And there's an argument that, you can say that, all right, you know what, take a step back, Tom, calm down, take a breath. We're noticing that you've been angry, like, up to this point, quite more than you usually have been, with right. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, it's a different face for Tom Brady, not one that I guess we're all used to seeing, right? But yeah, that's we'll see kind of what happens. The Bucs still have their schedule isn't super, super brutal coming up. They do have, a little bit of kind of I guess you could say relax in a very loose term, because I know definitely, in terms of what people were saying for records and so on and so forth, it's definitely not going the way that people thought for the Bucs right off the bat. But that's not saying, you're absolutely right. When they had their Super Bowl run, they were a wild card, and they were, not many teams have went and done that off of a wild card berth. Now, are we going to say that that's going to happen again? I don't know. It's a different team. Definitely a different team for sure. So I wouldn't try and bank on that. But the season is not over. We're only a third through. So, take it as you will. But Nicole, what about your Saints? Let's talk about it.
Oh, the Saints.
Oh boy.
Well, it was 30-26. I did say that it was going to be 30-34 for us, but we were a little bit of points away. We went up against
had that game.
We went up against the Bengals, yeah. But there was one point where I do have to give it to Burrows, where he was, they were 3rd and 8, and they were on the 19-yard line, and we thought we got Burrows sacked. The pocket was deflating, and he somehow manages to slip out and then get a touchdown. So it was, they were, it was at 17-7 that happened. And I feel like that's when I felt a little bit more confidence come into Burrow's plays. And our defense, I have a long list of defense things that we'll probably get into later on. But we played also too without our top 3 receivers, Thomas, Olave, and Landry. So that was really, really hard. But Shaheed, the rookie, for his first game, went out and got us a touchdown, which was looking really good. So we had some second half drives that got 15 minutes away from Burrow, which I thought was really great. But it's still not enough. We had a lot of rushing yards.
That Shaheed guy, was that the gentleman that got that like 62-yard run?
Yeah,
Was that
44 yards.
or
Yeah.
whatever it was? That was
First game.
really good. That was a really nice run.
Yeah, so I'm happy we have him, and I hope for him to be stepping up to plate. As I know, coming in, we still have some injuries to deal with. So, yeah, I think he looks good on the field. But other than that, we had 1 touchdown in 4 red zone trips. So we I feel like in the red zone we weren't able just to complete those into touchdowns. So I think that's what's got us is the red zone and our defense.
Fair. Yeah, no, it was a close game. I thought you guys might have pulled through for that one for sure.
They almost did. That's the thing. Like the guy who led that team for so long literally was like, I'm just gonna show up with the Saints and I'm gonna beat them, kind of thing. And it was that freaking close, in my opinion. I actually caught myself rooting out. I'm like, you know what? At this point, effing do it. Like, just beat the Bengals at this point. Like, I want the Saints, if they're gonna have the redheaded rocket under center, that's just my opinion. And since Nicole is my my new co-host and stuff like that, I've kind of looked at this team a little bit more, and I'm like, you take Jameis Winston out of it, I don't mind the team as itself.
Yeah.
Like,
Olave is back, JD. He'll be playing next game.
Yeah.
Well, you know who I love and who won that game. So, Nicole, do you know my love for Burrow yet?
You know, I know that you do like them. I bought randomly some sweatpants of some Cincinnati stuff for some reason, which I think is a bad omen. But
I'm sorry your team lost, but I'm happy for my Mr. Smoky Smooth. That's my nickname for him. And I love my Jamar, and I love my T, and I love my boys. They're my other team.
There were several times we could have got Burrows, but I was like, bury him. And they're like, he's one called Burrows because he's burrows down and goes out.
Good.
Yeah. He's very good at maneuvering out of the pocket and getting the yardage or the receiver he needs.
Yeah.
But he did it at LSU, so.
Yeah,
and I love that he showed up in Jamar Chase's national championship LSU jersey. That was pretty sweet.
Oh yeah, I did see that. He was signing autographs before the game.
Yeah. So I'm sorry for your loss, but I was happy for my other favorite quarterback in the league other than Brady.
Boobs, I know you got to run and stuff, but tell us quickly where we can find you. Thanks for popping in quick, man. I appreciate it.
Not a problem. Like, I wanted to give quick shout out to the Falcons, who before the season even started, I said, and I quote, you give it 2 more drafts, and this team is going to be something not to be effed with. And they're already showing with some of the talent that they got on there that they're not something to be effed with. So
that's promise for your Falcons there, Kyle.
Yeah.
I'm going to go right into it.
I wanted to give shout out to that. I want to give shout out to the Carolina Panthers for inevitably getting rid of every talent that they have. So we get an extra 2 wins for the next 3 seasons.
Yep.
And we get to just pick off your quarterback, whichever one you decide.
Man, that team's imploding.
Oh, yeah. Man. And also shout out to the Saints, because literally, like I just said, I found myself turning the TV on being like, you're winning against the Bengals. Go on. You have my attention. So, yeah. Of course, you can find me at NSD every Friday night, live 7 o'clock Mountain Time, 9 o'clock Eastern Time for all you East Coasterners. I'm on doing the Maple Bucks show on Sundays. And now I am going to go talk hockey. So when all y'all are done here talking football and talking the NFC South, if you want to go talk about your Oilers, you want to go talk about your Red Wings, you want to go talk about your Flames, and how shitty every single one of those teams are except for the Red Wings, you can come hear about
I would love to always talk Red Wings with you.
Yeah. So you can come join me on the I can't even remember what the heck it's called now because I'm so excited. So I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to talk to you guys later. Go Red Wings because we rule. Eldest Adam Blom is my daddy. Love you all. Bye.
Bye. So, yeah, kind of go tie into what he was saying, too, with, I guess, the Falcons this week. So I wrote a little thing down, too. So fun fact, at this very point, 3 years ago, Marcus Mariota was benched by the Tennessee Titans, if you guys didn't know.
I remember that.
Yeah, so quite the turn of events. The Falcons went against the powerhouse, currently top-ranked defense in the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers. Marcus Mariota had a day. He had a completion rate of 13 out of 14 completions, only having one incompletion, which is his final throw at the end of the game. He finished with 129 passing yards and rushed for 50 yards for 6 carries. It was a really, really fun day to watch the Falcons go against a really, really good team. Currently, after this game, we're ranked 3rd overall in rushing yards, which has not been done since 2016 for our team, which we were ranked, I believe, 5th at that point. So, the Falcons absolutely dominated the 49ers 28-14 on both sides of the ball. And Kyle Pitts got his first touchdown. So that's awesome.
That is good.
Yeah, you know what? I might be overreacting, but now that I've kind of seen more or less what the Falcons have been doing, this is going to be bold. I think Falcons are going to win the division. And I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be close. But the fact is if you look at the Saints, you look at the Bucks, and even if you look at the Panthers for that matter, they have stacked players on each side of the ball. They have stacked players on offense. They have stacked players on defense. The Saints have for a long, long period of time, but the Falcons don't. And that's the difference here, is the Falcons have a very, very young defense. And they're pulling together, which is pretty surprising, which the only really notable name is Grady Jarrett, and then as well maybe Arnold Ebiketie. But, it's really something amazing to watch. I always like a real tight division. I've said this before in previous episodes, obviously, right? But it's unreal. And if they keep going the way that they're going, hopefully, fingers crossed, slowly they're going to start to improve more and more and more. So I don't know. I'm hopeful. And anything could happen. Don't get me wrong. I can eat my words and we could lose the rest of the season. I don't know. I hope to God not. But they're playing complete football, which is something that we haven't seen for a really, really long time. So it's a good time to be a fan. To answer Johnny D's question, will that be Pitt's 1 TD for the season? No. I think he'll get more. I don't think he's gonna have the blowout year that everybody's anticipating, where like he'll score 10 touchdowns per se. I'll see him getting at least probably a couple more. If I'm guessing, I think we'll get about 4 from him this season. But that's my take. You feel free to chime in, Nicole. Feel free to chime in, Kate.
I have very high doubts about you guys becoming. It's a long road, my friend. Okay, we got November and we got December. Winter is coming. Okay, just you wait. We're gonna. I don't know. I know you guys are strong, but I still think that there are some other strong teams that you'll be going against. And don't count us out.
No, we don't play you for a bit. We don't. But
I know. Yeah, you were talking about how he's a college guy, Mariota, right? And
yeah,
I actually,
Oregon.
For the first time, I ended up going and watching a highlight reel of the game, and I would just have you guys got some really nice long good passes that are solid. You guys aren't showing much cracks in your foundation, but I bet you have a few, and we'll be finding them out, just like a path of water dripping through creates a canyon of gaps, my friend. So I don't know. That's what I got. I mean, I'm happy that you guys are winning, but I think we'll see about our next week predictions about that.
No, that's fair. That's fair. What do you think, Kate? What's your take on it? No. Hello? Is she there?
Coming back.
Oh.
Maybe.
Well, we'll get her take in a minute. We'll move on. So there is definitely some heroes and zeros in this match. I guess since I'm already on the topic of it, one of the people who I think actually stood out the most in the game is actually Arthur Smith. And there's a couple of reasons why. So after his second season with the Atlanta Falcons, considering the lack of league-wide stars on our team, Arthur Smith single-handedly changed the tides. Before his reign started in 2020, Atlanta was ranked 27th in rushing yards. So, pretty much bottom of the league, right? Now, 2021, his first year, which really is still kind of a hangover year from, starting as a head coach. You still got to work out the kinks and stuff, so you really can't judge someone too much on it. He moved us up to 24th. So still bottom of the league pretty much in rushing yards comparatively to a lot of other good running teams like Green Bay at that point, and even like KC had really good running. But yeah, now the fact is that we're ranked third. Now the season's not over, obviously, but pieces are starting to click together, which is very exciting on both sides of the ball. And yeah, like I hope it continues. He did a lot for Tennessee when he was in there with his tenure with Derrick Henry. So it's definitely transferable. And you know what? Like I'm not necessarily so dead set on running the same scheme as Tennessee, but it's nice to see a running game when all you really had is a passing game. So I do like that. I do have an honorary mention though, and that's AJ Terrell. I don't know if you saw that play. Oh my God, that is called football smart. Did you see it? What he did?
Well, was it which one? Was it the touchdown?
Yeah. Did you see how it wasn't his touchdown, but he contributed to it? So I've never seen a play like that. He was going and he caught it, and then he was going out of bounds. So then what he did is he went and he fumbled it in the end zone.
Oh yes, yes.
Take it. I'm like, what makes you think that in that clutch of a moment? Like, honestly, like that's unreal. Like, not saying that he should have that highlight right there, but there's something to be said. Like that's a football smart move. So
I guess that's true. It's
right?
one way of getting a touchdown.
Yeah, I'll take it.
I would take it too.
Like, why not, right? But what about for you guys? Who stood out for you the most?
I would say my hero and the New Orleans best kept secret would have to be Pete Werner. Werner.
I don't even know who that is. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, he's a linebacker. He's number 20 if you do see him on the field. But so far he's had 41 solo tackles. He's number 1 in defense, 4 tackles right now for the Saints. And so far he's signed a 4-year contract and was selected by the Saints in the second round of the 2021 draft. So
nice.
He is quite new. Last year he did rack up 30 solo tackles. Okay. While this year he's already up to 41 solo tackles. So I can't wait to see how many he gets this year. His father, Greg, also played 2 years in the NFL for the Jets and Eagles.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah. So yeah, he was my hero.
Well, who was your zero then?
Oh, I would like to say it's so hard to pick, but it's all of defense. Right now, it's defense. They allow 26 points a game, potentially. So they've gotten 2 interceptions in one game. Oh yeah, this was Matthew. So Matthew's been good. I mean, he was good on KC, and even in a KC versus Baltimore game, he got 2 interceptions for the game, which is like pretty cool and sweet. But right now, I just feel like the keyword is potential. I know he's really great, and he's great off the field too with his foundation. But I see so much potential. And I know that he did miss like 2 critical tackles that were in the red zone for the touchdown. I know he got interviewed and he said, today wasn't my day, but we need to find ways to take away the ball on defense.
So are you going straight for the safety then? Because I think defense as a whole, right? Like it's, I always say blame the defense, and don't get me wrong, I'm totally guilty for this. But are you blaming the defense for passing game? Are you blaming the defense for rushing game? Like where are you seeing it the most? Because to me,
the red zone.
The red zone. Okay.
Yeah.
So
that's, I don't know. I feel like the red zone, and also too, like it's all of defense, because it's even the like the front people in the front who there's so many easy sacks that we could have got on Burrows. And I know he's like the silky smooth, but
Mr. Silky Smooth.
I know we have Cam Jordan. I know we have a lot of potential on our defense, and it just wasn't firing off as much as I would have liked it to.
Fair? No, that's absolutely fair. I get you on that. Yeah, it's tough. It really is tough. Like the one thing that people, well, I don't know if people necessarily realize it or not, but for a lot of the NFC South, it's a pretty tough schedule for a lot of teams because we do rotate through the same teams, I believe, for the most part. It's pretty close to a similar schedule. People have played the Bengals. We're going to be playing the Bengals right away. I think the Bucks, I don't think they've played the Bengals yet, but even then, Kitty's going. Hi, Facebook user. I'm not sure who you are, but look that up after. But yeah, it's tough. It's not an easy schedule no matter what. I do agree with you in a sense that defense could always improve, but I think that goes across the board, to be quite honest with you. I think that defense can always be improved and it always could be bolstered, right? You can come across quite a few wide receivers, especially later on in like a draft per se, right? Oh, it's Ash. Ash, show your name then. I don't know why it's not showing your name. But at the same time, a defender you can't easily come by a good defender. Like those are the ones that stick, and like those are how franchise players are born. Like look at Nick Bosa, look at Joey Bosa, look at oh my God, I can't remember his name off the Rams. I should know this. Aaron Donald, right? Aaron Donald. Yeah. Look at JJ Watt, TJ Watt, right? Like these are players that are going to be like they're tags for the franchise, right? Like that's why a lot of these teams stay in it, right? So, maybe it's time for the Saints to go and look at another top defender. Maybe that's the way they go.
I mean, and I only say this is because of the loss, and as well, like I can't really blame. I mean, the O-line has a bunch of different kind of problems of their own of facing injuries and stuff like that. It's not like Lave and like they're all running with their.
Yep.
So, and we're doing the best we can with Dalton too as well. So, that's where I think. And even too, like I said, it comes down to the red zones. Those red zones really do matter.
So you think then just them completing it then at that point? Like you mean completing it in the red zone in terms of like you think they're doing good offensively in the red zone? It's just more so like having to cover like
it's executing those final points. Like
okay.
Instead of, for the attempt and stuff, we're just not executing and getting the touchdown. We're getting so close. Like that's what I mean is we had our 5, drives in the red zone,
okay,
and only successfully completed 1. I mean, that was the O-line too. So I'm a little bit of a sour, like it's hard to say who is a 0 and defense, offense.
That's fine.
Do you have a 0?
Yeah, I do. I have a 0. Yeah, no, I have a 0. Kind of tough. I actually think the Falcons played really good, but at the same time, there's still things to be said about who's that? Oh, that's cute. Young Wei Koo. It's not really fair for me to say him as one, but like he got 4 out of 4 points. He got the extra points. He kicked them in. He didn't have any field goals. It was a good day to be the Falcons fan. Obviously, we executed when we needed to execute. But yeah, like that's the thing is right now Koo is ranked 17th among kickers, so that's pretty low for him, all things considered. But I guess there's a vice versa with that because you could say that contributes to our offense actually completing plays and not having to kick the ball, right? That could also contribute to the fact that defense is doing what they need to do as well. I don't know. It's tough to say, but Young Wei Koo is definitely one of them. Maybe this one I didn't write down, but potentially DMPs. I think he's doing well. I am getting a little bit concerned with the injuries as well on our team. That's something that is factoring in. And thankfully he didn't play a big part in the last game. But as the season goes on, especially against these really good teams that are coming up, it does worry me too. So he's very inconsistent. He's been pretty inconsistent throughout the whole season. I do like how he's shaping up the defense, so I got to give respect where respect's due. But at the same time, is he going to be the long-term solution to what we need to shape to, a good defense? Trust me, I love Young Wei Koo. So, it hurts me to say it, but realistically, that's kind of where I'm at with it. So, yeah, I don't know. It's tough to say. But, yeah, there was good around the league, though, for sure. I got to give a shout-out for my Be Humble. This definitely is going to be Steve Wilkes off the Carolina Panthers. Head coach, I think he really stepped up. You know, the team is in shambles. I know earlier Kate and Andrew were talking about it. And with the Carolina Panthers, and shout out to Sean Spencer. I know you're working tonight, man, and you're working behind the scenes, and I know you'd have a lot to say about this. But, you know, one of your top wide receivers just went off and just made you guys look really bad, right? So what do you do in that situation? He went off against the offensive coordinator, and then at that point, he was sitting, right? At that point, you realize that he was still going off. It's not a good look, especially when you're playing the defending Super Bowl champions. You know, you want to play your best football, which they weren't even playing their best football. So there is something to be said about that, right? So, yeah, like it's tough, but, you know, it's good to show that Steve Wilkes, even though he's going and he's, you know, doing what he can with what he has, essentially, right? The fact that he sent Robbie Anderson inevitably away from his last time as a Carolina Panthers.
Yeah.
You needed to do that because you need to show that you're a good leader, right? So I really do think that, you know, that there is something to be said, because when you are rebuilding a team, and correct me if I'm wrong, Nicole, it steps down from the leaders, from the management and stuff like that. You know, that's what the players thrive off of, right? Like you could argue that a lot of the Saints' success was inevitably due to Sean Payton, right? Like he was a great coach and he led the players well. So I don't know. What do you think about it? Did you get to see the play or what happened with that on the highlights with Robbie Anderson?
I did see the highlights. It's like, what's going on here? I mean, I've kind of researched him. Are we going into the Arizona?
No. We'll just touch on it a little bit because I'm gonna go dive more. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm gonna dive a lot more deep into it because I'm also gonna talk a little bit of Arizona Cardinals too, to kind of talk about the trade as well and everything. But I don't know. What do you think about Steve Wilkes and doing what he did? I guess.
Yeah. You got to do sometimes what's best for the team and the morale. Like, I'm kind of curious to see is, like, you know, there is camaraderie and like teamwork and team relationships in those locker rooms off the field. And who's to say how, you know, he is with his other teammates and stuff like that too. You know, I saw several people jump in to kind of, you know, take the heat, let them have some air and space in between themselves. So I really truly think he's close with Matt Rule, and if he left, then there's different relationships, I think, at play. And sometimes your performance can be, you know, dependent on other things in life or in other, you know, work relationships.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, that's how I thought about that.
I like it.
Yes. Are you're going to ask me about the be humble?
Yeah, you're be humble. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, my be humble is Mariota.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I said, I was watching the highlight reel, and he almost reminded me of Drew Brees. I hate saying that.
Wow, that's bold, Nicole.
Hey, Andrew's not here, but that's the only thing I'm gonna say. You better take that. That's me being humble.
Oh man, I hope somebody clips that and we can play that over and over again.
No,
I don't know. Maybe Sean can do that after the fact.
Yeah, I don't know. He just looked like you know, a legendary professional.
Yeah.
And he led his team to victory.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to touch on Mariota after too. I'm really curious to see how the rest of the season's going to play out, but yeah, I guess yeah. So, yeah. So you know what? I know we've talked a little bit, but we're one of 3 shows that are on tonight on Let's Talk Football. So why don't we take a little quick commercial break and see what other shows we have going on here. Yeah, so ladies and gentlemen, we're one of 3 shows that are on Tuesday. As you obviously know, we are Let's Talk Football, NFC South Take Over. We're 5:30 Mountain Time. That's 7:30 Eastern. And then also we have the roundtable right after this, which is, I believe, 6:30 Mountain, and that's 8:30 Eastern. And then also, correct me if I'm wrong, we have the Let's Talk Football. What is it? The draft show, I believe. No, not the draft show. It's the what's it called? The fantasy. That's right. The fantasy one at 10 p.m. Eastern. That's 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So thankfully we cover all aspects of football. But yeah, that's awesome.
So many great shows.
Yeah, so many great shows, great people. And you touched on it before. I don't mention it enough, but we learned quite a bit about football. Like, especially in the last year and a half. Like I look at things that I don't usually look at now. I used to just root for a team, and now I'm like actually looking at individual performances and so on and so forth. So it's really something else. But now our next topic, and I wish we had the Bucks people on for this, but that's totally cool. Is Tom Brady imploding? I love this because I know me and you have wanted this for a very long time. But is it finally happening?
I think so.
I know. I think so too. I'm excited. Like, I don't. You know what? No, you go first.
No, I mean, I do have to give it to the guy. I think that there is he needs support from his team right now. That's what I was gonna say.
Okay.
And they need to have like him not turn his back on them. I know that there's been some talk about missing practices, and
Yeah.
if it is just, if the guys are there and they're practicing, it just goes to show that there's not enough. I don't think he wants it bad enough, but he's showing it in his frustration that he does. So it's hard to say. It's like he's frustrated on the field. We get that. We see how angry, and he's really trying to make some plays happen. But then
Yeah.
again, during the week and stuff like that, is his head still in the game? Whereas some players are eat, breathe, sleep 24/7 sometimes. And,
Especially these young guys that they fought their hardest, which Tom Brady once did, to get into this league. And I'm not saying he's taking it for granted, but you touched on it already. Like, you need to be at practice. If you're not living up to the Super Bowl, persona that you've created for yourself, the GOAT, the greatest of all time, then you better be showing up for practice.
yeah.
Like,
Yeah, so I don't know if there is, and maybe this could be like an umbrella effect of a little bit of underlying stuff of workplace relationships.
yeah,
Football, it is a game, it is a sport, but it also is their job. So it is their work, and they have to find ways around that. And I know that the NFL doesn't shed too much light on that, as much as I would like to have some knowledge into the behind world, but it's just
yeah.
it.
I feel you. I wrote a little bit down, but yeah, like, I'm just gonna start off by saying that this isn't a direct shot to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers,
Yes,
because
yeah.
I think there is quite a bit to kind of like dive into with this. So, Foobs, when you are watching this, do not swing for my head when I say this, but I do feel that a big portion of the problem with the Bucks, minus the injuries, is the disconnection between Brian Leftwich and Tom Brady, which they kind of touched on a little bit earlier, Kate and Andrew. I'm not going to go touch his personal issues, because me personally, I feel that does not tie into what is going on. His head might not all be in it, but I wouldn't say that is the main reason to the Bucks' current situation with what's going on. I did talk about how Brady is screaming at the O-line. Like, even though he rightfully can do so, it is going to leave like with one simple question, which is on everybody's mind, is what's going on with the Bucks? Is this normal? Is this justified? And quite simply, Nicole, and I'll ask you flat out, can the Bucks save their season? And what should they do to set themselves up for next year? That's the real question,
Yeah.
right? Like, if you're declining as much as you are right now, right? There's a lot of things that you can touch on with the Buccaneers here, in my opinion. Tom Brady's leaving. Do you trust in Blaine Gabbert? Do you trust in, Kyle Trask to go and take over that role. Do you go and bolster up, an offensive line that is damaged, that is, needing for some depth because, of the injuries that they've been going through, right?
Yeah.
Where do you kind of fall with that?
I think that they should just maybe watch some good old Saints videos in the. Not kidding.
I love it.
No. They I what's good for them? They got a good fan base.
Yeah.
Very supportive in Tampa Bay, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think they like you hit it on a little bit, is that magic stuff between, your tight end and, and yourself, as well as the coach. And if there's not that there, it's hard to, you make your plays. And maybe Kate touched on it a bit too, with certain plays not being played at the right time.
Yeah.
And them not, getting that transaction of a touchdown. So
Yeah.
keys to their game is hoping that the Falcons fall, and so do the Saints.
We
I mean,
could, honestly.
and our division's not over. It's
No.
only a 2-game in between from even me,
Yep.
So they're doing better than us.
Well, with that being said, though, actually, it's a good tie-in. What is next for the Saints? Like, what to me, the Saints have been the root of my anger for a long time. But, like, at the same time, I do respect a good team when I see it, right? And the Saints have been good for very long. Most seasons, they are sitting around the .438. So they're pretty much 500 for the most part, with, some seasons obviously being better than others. But you can honestly say that pretty much with any team for the most part, right? But as things currently progress, the Saints are trending to have a high draft pick, right? But even with that being said, like there's a lot to be excited for the Saints, especially in their wide receiving corps. But yeah, like it's tough. They're kind of put themselves a little bit in a tough position, in my opinion. Do they pull the trigger on a QB in this next draft? And the thing is they don't even have a first-round draft pick right now at this current moment, right? So are they going to move a big piece then to allow them to go and retool? Because I don't think it's a rebuild for the Saints, because I don't think they're far off. I think they're having a little bit of a bad season, and there's some wiggle room to kind of move around with them. But, again, I think with any team that you're not really necessarily getting the success that you want to get, like the Eagles are getting right now, which is a whole Cinderella story and a half. But what do you do?
I mean, we need to get our O-line back up to health. That's pretty much it. We've had some injuries, and I know that goes across the board for every team. Everyone can rag on the injuries. But we spend a lot of money on them and a lot of our budget. I just glanced at some of these people's salaries, and I was shocked. So and again, everyone has these different contracts for how long they get to stay around.
Yep.
I know we traded away our first round draft to the Eagles. So unless maybe we get an on sale player, maybe from Carolina Panthers or something.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it because there's, now we're hearing that Andy Dalton got hurt in the game with his back. So I'm like, hey, how many QBs are you allowed to have on a team? And I looked at him like, okay, we only got the 2. I'm like,
well, Jimmy should be back now, shouldn't he? Isn't he okay now, or is he still injured?
The injury report, the people who did not practice were Laundrie, Thomas, Lattimore, Pete, Truman, Trotman, Kirkwood. Andy Dalton was limited, as well as Winston. So he was limited.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like all the key players, pretty much.
And we don't have that Sunday to a couple more days to even get back in. It's right back into the horse on Thursday.
Oh, you guys are the Thursday night game.
Yeah. So this is why I'm like stressing out a bit.
Yeah. But Ben Cornett touches on it too. Like with you guys, kind of respect to what we were saying before. If the Saints upgrade the secondary and wait for a bit, QB, they'll be back to being dangerous in that division. Like I think a lot of it does fall with your quarterback situation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was looking it up too, and there was one stat that stood out to me, and it's only 10% of teams since the 1990s that start 2 and 4 that make postseason.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think I posted it in our chat group about I think it was early 2000s where that actually did happen, where there was a couple of like -5 for, well, 5 losses, 4 losses that teams did make it. But it's a small percentage, 10%. So like my heart got cut into small little pieces of 10%.
Fair.
But
Oh,
yeah, so that's what's next for the Saints. We
fair.
always got Taysom Hill.
Oh god, yeah, Taysom Hill's a stud.
He might just have to step into QB if
Honestly,
we
like he
get
can
hurt.
do it though. That's like he's such a valuable player for you guys to have. Like you cannot let him go, especially with all the uncertainty. But I don't see that happening. I think
Yeah.
he'll be a Saint for a long time. But Colin, to touch on your question, do I think Kyle, who do you think will be Atlanta's next QB after Mariota? Is he a placeholder at QB for us? I would say so, at least for this year. I'm gonna answer your question, and I don't mean to throw you off, but I'm not gonna answer that right now. I'll answer that in 2 more. I promise you, because I do tie this into Marcus Mariota's topic there. So I promise you, we're gonna get to that. But yeah, it's crazy. Our division is weird this year. I love it though. I love the drama with it. It's the NFC South surprisingly has been very eventful.
Yeah.
Very eventful.
Oh, for sure.
Well, I know we talked about it earlier, but Robbie Anderson going to Arizona. So why don't you kind of touch base with that first? What are your thoughts on that? You know, how do you think about the trade? What do you think it means for both the teams? I'm kind of curious what
It
your
means
thoughts
I'm going
are
to
on
be
it.
playing him on Thursday if that happens. But that's not how quick that happens. Is it that quick?
I think it is that quick. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's right away.
Oh, okay, so we're playing against him. But yeah, so Robbie Anderson in 2020 hit free agency and signed 20 mil for a 2-year deal with the Panthers. He was reunited with Matt Rule as their former Temple wideout. In 2020, Panthers signed Anderson for a 2-year extension and worked out 29.5 million. But his performance wasn't as up to par as the year prior. So I think that's a little bit of the tension of him, being pretty good with, Matt Rule, who just got out the gate. And then as well, the fans as well haven't been too kind with him because we're paying so much money and he got an extension with even more money and he didn't perform as well. So they're
Yeah.
questioning, I think, his loyalty as well. And I think that the tension's risen.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of people that talk about Robbie Anderson and saying that he's an unreal wide receiver. Honestly, I don't know. I wasn't really too scared of him when we played Carolina, to be quite honest with you. To me, it's always been the Christian McCaffrey show there, and like DJ Moore does have some blowout games, obviously, but I don't know how I feel about the trade personally. Arizona gets Robbie Anderson, the Panthers get a 2024 sixth and a 2025 seventh. So who really won this trade? I don't know. Arizona got a B plus receiver, and Carolina got some potential depth. That's the way I look at it personally. It makes me wonder though: is this going to solidify CMC's future with the Panthers, or are the Panthers going for a full retool? Because I do think they have a really good defense, arguably the best defense in our division. But this all does make sense after the incident with Robbie Anderson. I was surprised it happened as fast as it did. Personally.
Yeah.
I was shocked that it was literally next day, but I don't know. We'll kind of see how it plays out. The Panthers are in need of a starting QB and another wide receiver now to pair with DJ Moore. So I don't know. They're definitely in a predicament for sure.
Maybe this
Yeah,
is them, getting out some of what do you call, like, not poison in the blood, but like if they do and it ends up working for them, maybe it was a good call. But
yeah.
time will tell. The next game on Sunday, I'm going to be keeping my eyes on them.
Fair. No, that's fair. Yeah, so I guess with that, we've touched on pretty much every team at this point. Now, I do want to go touch a little bit further with some Marcus Mariota, and you mentioned obviously a little bit about it. This Is this a second coming? This is kind of tough because I think teams lose a little bit of the pathway forward when a quarterback that is considered a bridge quarterback do well. He is Oregon's alma mater, and all my American friends, please correct me if I'm saying that or if I'm butchering that. Marcus Mariota, though, was the second overall pick in 2015, and he shot from the Tennessee Titans. So, he was a highly prospect QB. In 3 seasons with the Oregon Ducks, he started 41 games, threw for 10,796 yards, and he had 105 touchdowns with only 14 interceptions. He had also as well 1,167 passing attempts. So not only taking that into account of his arm, but he ran for 2,237 yards, and he had 29 rushing touchdowns. So the guy's mobile and he has an arm, which definitely is loved in the NFL nowadays. Now, what does this all mean for the Atlanta Falcons? He only did sign, I believe, a 2-year deal, I believe. But regardless of him doing well right now, and inevitably, potentially having us a winning season and bringing us to the playoffs, you can't get blindsided by that. You can't. That's the thing is Marcus Mariota was always just going to be a bridge quarterback. He can have a blowout year, and that's phenomenal. But at the end of the day, you got to look at the future. He is older. He is 30. And the thing is especially with a quarterback pool that is coming up right now, you don't pass on that. Desmond Ridder too. We don't even know necessarily what he's capable of because Marcus Mariota is having good and bad games. When do you put him in? And is he the answer? Because honestly, he did very well for Cincinnati. So it's really tough, I think, in my opinion. But I don't think you buy into it. So for everybody wondering if we have Marcus Mariota for another year, maybe just to develop whoever that quarterback that is going to be stepping up to be our franchise quarterback in there. But I think it's a very similar situation to the New Orleans Saints, in my opinion. Because even though Taysom Hill could play quarterback and he could be like that guy temporarily, that's not his position. He should stay tight end. Marcus Mariota should stay as a bridge quarterback. And then from there, in my opinion, at that point is when you will go and you will figure out, is it Desmond Ridder the guy? Is it going to be Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Hooker as well? There's a lot of quarterbacks that are good, but
do you think with him in that position is racking up to potentially get, enough points underneath his bag to become a bargaining chip and worth, more value to the team in whether or not, they keep him or go for it. Regardless, he is racking up, and he could probably, even if he does really good this year, ask for some more.
100%. You know what? That's actually, I didn't even think about that. That's a really good point. He, maybe he gets traded. If he is on a 2-year deal, right? I think that's pretty huge, right? Like you could go to another team where they're suffering a little bit, right? Where they're not really sure. Maybe that team needs a bridge quarterback. Maybe that's where, he gets traded to the Green Bay Packers. I'm not trying to predict anything, but there's other teams that definitely could use them. So I believe that was Colin who said that if he and Pitts continue to develop a great relationship could make a difference. I do agree, but I think there's different relationships that are developing with Mariota. I think his leadership is really good, but I think him and Alameda Zacchaeus actually balling out really good, right? So, I don't know. What do you have to add to that?
I think this is called like the Mariota show right now because we've just been talking about him all night. But yeah, what more is to say about him other than I think he can become a good bargaining chip, or even ask for some more money. So good for him. He's honestly good for him. And he got a compliment from Nicole saying he kind of looked like Drew Brees. So
that's somebody.
Don't worry.
That. That's
if he could come over to the Saints, now that would be an awesome bargaining chip.
But honestly, that's also another place he could end up. Like you don't like trading within the division, sure, but like New Orleans Saints also would be a really good fit for him, especially to bridge that. So no, that's not out of the realm of possibilities. But enough about him. Talk for him for hours for sure. So we're gonna move on to I guess one of my favorite segments. I think your favorite segment, but don't let me put the words in your mouth for sure. Discoveries and our
I love it.
Sean, I had no idea that's what you did, but I love it, man. Let's go.
The more you know.
That's awesome. Oh God. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that we had no idea that that's what he did. So shout out to the man behind the scenes who better be on next week, Sean. We have a lot to talk about with the Carolina Panthers, so you better smarten up, but I appreciate you. Yeah, so Nicole, let's start with you. What's your discovery this week?
My discovery is, I guess I have to say the Let's Talk Football group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I got to give a big handout to, like you said earlier, the shows. I've been actually learning and discovering a lot on there. In particular, I want to shout out to, David, Ash, and Sydney on the fantasy show.
They're awesome.
Yeah, this is I only joined fantasy once a long time ago, didn't really get into it. But this year I joined fantasy and I had a couple questions, some embarrassing ones to say the least, but I was able to listen on their podcast and I asked them a couple questions and I was able to learn. One thing that got me was, okay, how come we lost? But, Will Lutz ended up getting 14 points. I'm like, is that normal? And is that a good game? And what I found out is it is a good game.
Yeah.
Ashley was telling me that depending on the league, they get different points depending on where the field goal was made. So I never knew how intense, even for kickers, how much fantasy points they can get. He found out that, he had 2 for 1 point for the points after attempt, and then 4 field goal made from 30 to 39 yards, 3 points for each.
I was going to say, yeah. So that's where you get your points the most, especially for the kicker. It's funny because a lot of leagues actually, dynasty leagues in particular, they lean away from the kicker and they use that position as like a super flex, which is the league that I believe you just got into. So yeah, no, it's kickers do matter. And especially kind of a little tidbit for people that do play dynasty as well. Kickers, especially if you want to know when to put, like when your kicker is going to produce a lot of points, it's those really, really, really good games like the Saints and the Bengals, or if, like, for example, Buffalo and KC, where potentially you could have really good defense in stopping you, and the game honestly is pretty much just going to be kicks. So no, that's fair.
Yeah. So thank you again for the Let's Talk Football and their shows. Huge shout out. And then I found out that the first football fantasy was created in 1962.
I had no idea about that. So that
paper
is a fun
and pen.
So mine's specific a little bit. So my discovery is, so the backup quarterback for the New England Patriots, Bailey Zappi. He is the first rookie QB in the Super Bowl era to win and post 100+ passer rating each of his first 2 starts.
Holy
so
crap.
Mac Jones potentially might be a bust, but there is a reason why I am saying this. And sure, it might be a little too early to tell, so it might be a little bit of an over exaggeration, but can anyone guess the last QB to do this?
I'm going to say 1978.
Tom Brady.
Oh.
Was the last QB to do this.
Oh, wow.
So, no, I'm not saying Bailey Zappi is going to be the next Tom Brady, because I don't think anybody truly will be Tom Brady. I don't think necessarily what we see in the NFL right now. Potentially maybe Arch Manning when he does come in, but that's a little bit besides the point. But yeah, there's something to be said, especially when the fact that, Mac Jones is in his second season and Bailey Zappi is already in the talks of taking him over. So that's something. But I guess, we got to move on, and we're going to run a little long on this one, I guess. But what's your predictions this week, Nicole? How is your team going to do?
So we're up against the Cardinals, and I guess Mr. Anderson. On Thursday night, they're sitting at a 2-4 as well.
Yep.
They will be at a 2-loss streak, so they're going to be wanting the win for sure.
Okay.
We need Matthew to show loyalty because from 2012 to 2017 he played for them. So I expect that he will want to eat them up. Also, too, we got to rely less on our kicker. We've talked about kickers this time around.
Yeah.
Need to capitalize on the red zone in completing. We need to win. We can't let the gap of 2 games increase to 3 games between the div leaders right now in our division. So Thursday is key critical to the path to playing in the postseason. Injuries, people who did not practice, again, I'm really sad to say, is Laundry, Thomas, Lattimore, Pete, Truman, Kirkwood. And then again, Andy, Dalton, and Winston were limited with their practice for their backs. So
Olave is back though, which
oh,
is good.
he wasn't listed. He wasn't listed on there, and same with Taysom Hill. But they've had some issues. So we'll need them to step up. I think it'll be more so of a running game.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm starting to look up. Oh, yeah. I looked up to see who else we have as QBs, and there was no one. So I think we could utilize Taysom Hill if, Dalton and Winston are not feeling good.
What's the score?
I'm sticking to it. I want that 34-30 for us.
Okay. 34-30. You know what? I know we talked about it last week where I said the Saints were going to lose. Saints win this game. I'm going to call it right now. I don't think it's going to be as high scoring in my opinion. I would go maybe something along the lines of, let's see. So I think maybe like a 23-17 is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I realize I put my prediction a little high, even though we have all of our wide receivers out.
Well,
but hey, you know what? Maybe Mr. Shaheed could get it done.
I think it'll be actually for your touchdowns too, as I think Taysom Hill got one, and I think it'll be Olave. I think both of them will get a touchdown this week. But I guess we'll have to wait and see. So the Falcons is a little tough. I think this is definitely a game to watch for multiple reasons. For after this game, which not to spoil too much, but I would consider a little bit of an easier schedule. After this game, we do play the Panthers, we play the Steelers, Washington, as well as the Bears, which are very winnable games. Not that we're going to necessarily win it, but very winnable games. So, this week we go against the AFC reigning champion, the Cincinnati Bengals, which is a tough feat for sure, right? So I don't know. It's tough to say. The schedule was never going to be easy to begin with, but we're already doing better than we originally thought we were going to do, and pretty much nobody had us at 3-3. So there is something to be said about that. Some key injuries, though, to mention is Casey Hayward, one of our cornerbacks. He's out. That's a little bit of a hit. The one thing that I can say that the Falcons do have is we do have some depth, though, at the cornerback position. AJ Terrell, he was injured last game, but he will be in this game. The only reason why he didn't play the rest of the game is a precaution, which I do appreciate. And then some of the backups we have are Darren Hall and then as well D. Alford, who I definitely can trust both of those cornerbacks. So even though it's a little bit of a loss, like it still hurts, but it can be filled. That position can definitely be, taken, especially when you're going up against Jamar Chase, who, Joe Burrow is definitely going to want to connect with, right? So Cordero Patterson is still out as well, so that kind of sucks for another game or two. But honestly, we've been doing pretty well without him, and our running back situation is surprisingly a lot better than probably a lot of people really anticipated. So, yeah, like the Falcons are proving to be a dark horse of 2022. Whether that remains to be seen if they're going to be the dark horse going into the playoffs is, still a little bit early. We are only going into week 7, but I'm telling you right now, the Falcons will be rushing, and the reason why is because it's obviously been working. We have a mobile quarterback, we have running backs that can do it, and I think that's the key to beating Cincinnati. Cincinnati is currently ranked 21 in rushing yards per game, so they're definitely towards the bottom of it, defending wise. So I don't think we're going to be throwing too much. Maybe I'll eat my words, but I know we're the underdog right now, but I think the Falcons end up winning this game. And this is going to be a big turning point for the season. It's going to be a close one. I'm going 25-20 Atlanta.
Oh.
So
take this as no offense, my friend.
no, that's fine.
I hope for my sake that you guys lose.
Go ahead and say it, whatever.
Eat dirt. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. Like I said, we just played against them, so if they beat us, then they have to beat you fair and square, my friend.
Oh yeah, is that how that works?
Yes, that's how it works.
Okay. So what's you think it's a close game? What do you think then? If he's gonna win?
I think it'll be a 12-14.
Oh, you think it's gonna be like a low scoring game?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
Interesting. All right. If that's what it takes to be, then I'm not gonna be upset about that. I guess we'll just have to wait and see, I guess. Right?
You'll see if I eat my words next week.
Well,
depending.
I'll be watching your Thursday game, so don't you worry about that.
Yes.
But that was a lot to cover. Hopefully there's a lot too next week. But everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. Please, if you are still watching, go check out our Let's Talk Football roundtable that is on right now. And then as well, later on, we do have the fantasy show as well with the Swintons and David Wright. So check that out. And if you haven't done already, give us a like, give us a share, and spread the love. We have all your NFC love and support and news. And I think that's all for this lovely Tuesday. So everybody, thank you for tuning in and have a good night. Bye-bye.